Chapter 37. We're going to be talking about the Lied, one of the most important genres in the Romantic period. The Lied, or Lieder, is a German word that simply means song. It's a romantic art song. Romantic as in not necessarily about love, but from the Romantic era. This was a favored genre during this time period, and it was done by amateurs and professionals alike. It was performed in the home, it was performed in the concert hall, and it was extremely popular. Some of the big name composers during this time period for the Lied would be Schubert, Schumann, Brahms, Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel, and Clara Wieck Schumann, who was the wife of Schumann. Some of the poets that they favored were Van Goethe and Heinrich Heine. If you've heard of either of those. Both of these poets, along with many other famous Romantic poets, wrote a lot of poetry that was short, very personal, full of drama, intrigue, and the poems lent themselves well to being set to music because they were very lyrical and they had a ballad type feel to them. Some common themes would have been love, longing, sadness, the beauty of nature. And so some of the main things to know about the Lied are that it's a very close tying between text and music. We've talked a lot about that, but the music was meant to enhance the meaning of the poetry. And so the composer would try to interpret that poetry and bring out the emotion in the music. The way this differs from emotion from the Baroque and Classical is that during the Baroque and Classical periods, they were using more formulas, more static presentations, and there was less freedom in the music. So there was more emotion than there had been, but in the Romantic era, they were able to break free of a lot of the common conventions and do more experimental and more dramatic options with their music. There's another word I want you to know, which is called a song cycle. It simply means a group of Lieder. And so a composer would take several different poems. They may not all be by, a set by the poet, but they had common themes. And so they grouped together several poems, set them to music, and they called them a song cycle. That was a common presentation around this time period. One of the things that you need to understand about the Lied is that there are two different types. You can see here strophic and through composed. Those are the two main types. Strophic is the meaning of every verse has the same melody, all right, which is how most songs that we know happen. That is very common. So probably most of the music you know that has a verse and chorus, that's considered strophic. Through composed means there is not that verse, chorus kind of repetition or even stanza to stanza, same melody. Each section of the poem and of the music is composed with new music. And then there's modified strophic, which is, kind of a hybrid. Franz Schubert was the main composer of the Lied. 1797 to 1828, lived a very short life. He was born in Vienna. He grew up learning music as a member of the Vienna Boys Choir. He tried to be a teacher, didn't really like that. That didn't fit for him. And because of that, he really struggled financially to fit in. There's a picture of him. But he became well known for his songwriting. He had such a melodic gift. When you hear some of his music, you will understand what that means. He had a group of people. They named themselves the Schubertiads, which was basically like his biggest fan group. And some of them were writers, artists, others musicians. They actually financially supported him. They were his groupies. His music is emerging out of the classical and embracing the Romantic style. Some of his symphonies and chamber music are a little bit more classical, but his lieder and piano music is definitely Romantic. His output was over 600 lieder, also wrote song cycles, symphonies, piano and chamber music, and choral music, but he is best known for his lieder. The Erlking, or Erlkönig in German, is the piece that I think you will enjoy listening to from him. He wrote it when he was 18, and it immediately became popular. The text is by Goethe. This was the first work Schubert published, and the text is from a legend, a Danish legend, and it is about a boy and his father and this elf king. So the king of the elves, but there's some fear involved. This isn't the Keebler elf. This is a scary elf. So whoever is touched by the elf king must die. There's one singer that sings 4 different vantage points, 4 characters: the narrator, the father, the boy, and the elf king. A lot of romantic trends are seen in this. They love to use folklore, stories, legends. They love to display intense emotional expression, which you'll see by being fearful of death. That's certainly intense emotional expression. Fanciful subjects, like the Elf King. Passionate. This is a portrayal of that. A good friend of Schubert's painted this. You can see the image of the man with the boy on the horse and this ghost-like king coming to get him. When you listen to this, I want you to identify that through composed, meaning you're not going to hear strophic. I want you to listen particularly to that fast constant triplet in the piano, which is supposed to represent horses' hooves. In general, you'll hear a dramatic element to it. It'll sound more eerie. You're going to hear as the child is being lured away from the father, you can hear the Elf King's suave tone. It shifts to a major key, making it sound nice. You'll hear the child's terror in the dissonance of it and in the high vocal range when the boy is speaking. When the father speaks, the low register is attempting to calm the boy. And then as you get towards the end, you can feel the tension building to the end. The end is quite dramatic as well. So use your listening guide to follow along. I highly recommend following along with the words. That will make it much more interesting and understandable. See what you think of the lead. And then in order to introduce the song cycle, you're going to listen to another composer, very much a contemporary of Schubert, named Schumann, 1810 to 1856. And he was German as well. He actually studied law, then piano, and so he didn't start out as a musician, but turned to it later, and also wrote music critiques that were published in music journals. He had a marriage in 1840 to Clara Schumann. It was said that he most likely was homosexual, and that led to his gradual mental collapse, seeing as it wasn't an acceptable way to live then. He entered an asylum, a mental institution, in 1854. So their marriage did not end happily. His music is very romantic in style. You'll hear some of that same passionate melodies like you heard with Schubert. He had the use of driving rhythms, harmonic changes. His output was less than Schubert, with over 200 lieder. He wrote a few symphonies, some piano music, and several song cycles. The song cycle that you're going to listen to comes out of the year 1840, and if you look back here, that is the year that he got married to Clara. So he wrote a song cycle. He wrote a lot of songs in this year. It was nicknamed the Year of Song because of the output in that one year. I guess being married inspired him. It's a collection of 16 poems by Heinrich Heine, and it's about love, but not all happy. You'll see a psychological progression if you looked at all of them, kind of the freshness and newness of love, all the way to despair. We've all been there. The song I want you to listen to is In the Lovely Month of May, and it is definitely longing, sentimental, talks about the fragility of new love. It's in strophic form. That means the verses have the same melody. You're going to hear a piano prelude, an interlude, and a postlude, meaning beginning, middle, end, just for the piano. There's going to be a meandering between two different keys, see if you can hear that. And in the piano postlude, one of the things that really speaks is the lack of chord resolution, which gives the feeling of an unfinished state of mind, and that was depicting of how he felt about love. You can look at the listening guide through your book, through the links, and I would again look at the translation so that you understand what is actually being sung. Thank you.